What a treat it is for me to be able to offer a drush on the day of this beautiful Simcha. Mazal Tov Lev, Marcy, Chazki, Asher, and your whole family. We're so glad to be with you. Last weekend, I went home to visit my mom in London, Ontario. I was asking her about her grandmother, Baba Chasha, who lived with my Bubby and Zeta, my mom and her siblings, until she died in 1962. In my response, my mom went to the DVD player, yes, the DVD player, and put in a DVD. You see, my Zeta had the first 8mm movie camera in the family. He took extensive home movies, 20 years worth, and my mom's brother had them transferred onto DVDs for each of his siblings. There's my mom in diapers at the age of 2, in diapers and a bonnet at the beach. There's my Zeta coming out from behind the camera to smooch everyone. And there is Baba Chasha, who surprisingly seems to be the most playful of them all. There's amazing footage of the London Jewish community at parties in Bubby and Zeta's basement, at the Jewish camp running 3-legged races, and at the Hebrew school zoomed in on the sweet faces of the children. There's also footage of my Bubby and Zeta in New York on VE Day. There was no sound in these home movies, so images of all these people moved along in front of my eyes as I imagined the sound of their voices, their songs, and their laughter. In the second chapter of this week's Torah portion, Chukat, as Lev so wisely taught us, Miriam dies. There are no details, and nothing is said about how the people or her brothers grieve. When she dies, the water dries up. The people complain that they've got nothing to drink, and Moses and Aaron pray to God. Okay, so listen closely. Here are the instructions. God tells Moses and Aaron to gather the people and to speak to the rock, which will then pour forth water. And what does Moses do? He yells at the people, shaming them and calling them rebels. Shall we bring forth water for you? Referring to himself as the very source of the water. He then hits the rock twice. And here's the pivotal moment. Vayomer Adonai el Moshe ve'el Aaron, Ya'an lo ha'emantem bi lahakdisheni le'enei bnei Israel. God says to Moses and Aaron, because you did not trust me enough to affirm my sanctity in the sight of the Israelite people, therefore you shall not lead this congregation into the land that I have given them. Moses and Aaron are punished. After all the effort and sacrifice to get the people of Israel to the land, neither will be allowed to enter. Why is this eruption of anger so deserving of such a harsh punishment? Ibn Ezra, the medieval commentator, posits that the punishment is because Moses and Aaron claimed ownership of the miracle. In so doing, they robbed the people of another opportunity to be in relationship with the holiness of the divine. So Ibn Ezra remembers Moses and Aaron for their error in action. But I want to shine a light on Moses' internal experience. His sister dies, and nothing is said about the mourning process. I don't see his action as arrogance and ego. I see Moses' anger and frustration as born of unexpressed grief that seems totally appropriate to the moment. In my experience, when we don't grieve, our sadness and pain come out in all kinds of unexpected and uncontrolled ways. So in this light, the punishment does not fit Moses' action. Rabbi Jonathan Sachs, Zichrono Livracha, who happens to be Lev's favorite commentator, does not believe that this is a punishment at all. He writes, "The fact that Moses was not destined to enter the promised land was not a punishment, but the very condition of his and our mortality." He goes on to say, "For each of us, there is a Jordan we will not cross, however long we live, however far we travel." In the book of Micha, we read, "I brought you up from the land of Egypt, redeemed you from the house of bondage, and sent Moses, Aaron, and Miriam to lead you." So this was our leadership team, the famous trio. In this parasha, both Miriam and Aaron die, and Moses is told that he too will die before accompanying the people into the land. Moses and his siblings' deaths signify the end of a generation of people who experienced coming out of slavery and receiving the Torah. A Midrash teaches, Moses, our teacher, said, "You decreed upon me that I will die in the wilderness with this generation that angered you. Now they will say throughout the generations that I am like them." Based on the Midrash, Moses' pain is not only about not entering the land with the people, but he feels pain that he will be remembered as merely one of the sinful generation rather than the courageous leader of the Israelites who had an intimate and devoted relationship with the divine. I hear Moses saying, "How will I be remembered?" In his book, Shuvah, president of the Shalom Hartman Institute, Yehuda Kurtzer, teaches that memory is an essential feature of Jewishness. We are a people of memory. And the Torah is our memory bank. Through the Torah, we remember coming out of Egypt and crossing the sea into freedom. Through the Torah, we remember standing at the mountain and revelation. And it is through Torah that we remember Moses and his siblings, Miriam and Aaron. We remember them not only in their flaws and mistakes, we remember their moments of pain and tenderness. And we remember the love and connection that gave rise to that pain. In other words, we remember them in the fullness of their humanity. After watching the London home movies, I asked my mom what it was like for her to see all those people after all this time. She said that she hadn't remembered that some of them had been present at those moments in her family's history. I asked her if it was difficult to see them, and she said, "No, quite the opposite. when I reflected upon her response, I realized that the only way I had ever thought about Baba Chasha was in relation to her dementia. And when I am asked about grandparents and those who came before them, I usually refer to the ways they escaped Russia and Ukraine and the traumas they endured there. And there were most certainly hardships and traumas. But there were also simchas, like Lev's today. People fell in love, shared meals, laughed, cried, sang, danced, and prayed. They had whole lives. When we only choose to remember the most difficult part of someone's experience, we diminish their humanity. I can choose the way I remember them, as I am quite certain they would want to be remembered for the ways they lived, the ways they loved each other, and the ways they impacted the world. My blessing for us this Shabbat is that we make conscious choices about how we remember and how we share our memories with those who come after us. Let us make choices about how to take the lives of our ancestors forward in ways that respect and pay honor, not only to their suffering, but in ways that reflect the wonder that was their lives. Shabbat Shalom.